all works well. We'll be on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Odyssey, and this will go up on Chordle as well. Let's see. Yep, we are good. Everything is working wonderfully. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Give us a thumbs up. Share this link out right now. The more people we have in chat, the better. It just adds to the energy of the show. And I'm going to go ahead and hit record and fire this up. Thanks for joining us today, Michelle.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, here we go. And boom, we're back for another episode of Alfacast. I'm Mike Winner, and I'm here as always with the fearless Dr. Bear Paul Lando, coming to you live and direct from the great state of Jefferson, where freedom still reigns supreme up here on the beautiful Smith River. Enjoying these cooler late summer days as we've got actually a big rainstorm came in. Bear, that was nice, refreshing.
Yeah, it helps fill up our new pond.
Yes, and we'll be sharing pictures of that pond at the farm on our Instagram and Telegram and on our membership platform soon here. Excited to finally see that come to fruition.
Yeah, and people don't consider that aquatic medicinal plants are amazing. So in our last farm, we had a lot growing out there. So we're looking forward to a whole new phase of farming in the water and having some unique offerings in the process. But let's get on. This is, I don't know, it's a heavy day. Yeah, just go for it here and we'll get started.
Yeah, indeed. There is a pallor of, that's why, I always like to throw an adjective in before your name, but that is an important attribute, fearlessness, which we'll be discussing today, which our guest definitely embodies. And that is the counterpunch. Well, really, it's embodied through courage, right? And that is a very, very important attribute to have in these days. So very happy to have you here with us. As somebody is now arrived at my house, of course, and the dogs are going to be barking. Bear, here, fill in the space real quick while I just let Callie out.
Okay. It all adds to the authenticity of our podcast here. So, yeah, Michelle, so happy to have you here. Well, I'll save it. Mike's back.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll save my.
You know what? And this may tie in a little bit to today's chat about fires, is that the person coming here is actually my electric meter reader person who, because I don't have a smart meter, so not only do I have an analog meter here, but I've got helping somebody have a job because they get to come and read the meter and, for our electric use, because unlike Bear, we're on the grid. So anyways, important not to have those smart meters.
I told you the story, our last place down in Humboldt County. We were out in the boonies, but we're kind of half off the grid. And I came home one day and there was some PG&E there trying to put on a smart meter, and I promptly told them to get the F off my property and intimidated them back in the car. While one guy, I forced him to go take what he just did off my barn, and they did it, and they drove off, and I bolted the gate behind them. So yeah, anyway, let's go.
On this Alfacast, we take you deeper into the orchestrated land grab by those who conquer populations through displacement. This centuries-old method of conquest by either overt force or stealth has not spared any racial group or geographical coordinate. For the predator class, it's nothing personal, just business. In the modern era of U.S. Inc., land was deceptively stolen via the issuing of warranty deeds to transfer alloidial title as recognized through original land grants and patents to absolute state control. If any doubt lingers about this blatant theft, just stop paying your property tax and see what happens. The corporatized state has now integrated acts of mass violence to outrun the Great Awakening that is quickly narrowing the window of opportunity for full spectrum dominance. The purposeful degradation of financial systems, arson, weather modification, and biological false flags are the favored weaponry, while lending a measure of plausible deniability. Look at Santa Rosa, Paradise, North Carolina, and Maui for just a sampling of the more obvious natural disasters. Throw in, Los Angeles there as well. Maui resident and freedom activist Michelle Melendez joins us to continue the land grab discussion thread initiated in our prior Alfacast interview featuring Tracy Derwin and Shane Buell. Michelle started her freedom activist journey in April 2020 when the narrative on mainstream media was not sharing the truth when it came to invisible terrorists. During the pandemic debacle, she hosted a health summit, refused donning facial diapers, sent petitions to police stations, and lodged formal complaints against the Hawaii police chief, who subsequently retired 3 months later. Bravo. Michelle was one of the first to speak out against the mainstream media in the aftermath of the Lahaina fire, while interviewing experts sharing the truth that this was not a wildfire, but something much more nefarious. Michelle wrote the book, Great Maui Land Grab, What Caused the Maui Fire and Is Your Home Next? And she's holding that up there. We'll be going deep into that today. It is up for many book awards and may even get Book of the Year. Michelle is a firm believer that this is a spiritual game/war that is being played at human expense, and it's up to each living soul to make a choice. Will you ignore the evil in the world and comply, or will you stand up for God and good and do your part, no matter how small? One thing is for certain, Michelle is our kind of gal, so please help us share her knowledge far and wide. Like I said, throw us a thumbs up wherever you're watching this. Share this link. Dr. Bear, please take it away, my friend.
It's kind of a pensive day for myself here, and normally we keep things a little upbeat, and I'm not sure what I'm feeling today. You know, we've got the anniversary of 9/11. We have the events of yesterday, and we were sharing a little bit with Michelle. Michelle, I'll give you, forgive me for this, I'll give you a proper introduction here in a moment, because we're really appreciative of your work and you making time for us today. You know, there's moments when tolerance is no longer appropriate. Tolerance for evil is not a virtue. And I think many of us have been tolerant just because that is a more refined and enlightened way of being. Before we came on today, I was sharing a little bit of my history with Michelle as far as some of the adventures I had in old Hawaii within the Hawaiian sovereignty movement. Pre-internet era, we were, some of us, doing things like practicing real medicine in ways that weren't approved, and many of us lost our lives or fortunes in the process and were jailed, and I've got frequent flyer miles with the FBI. It's just a real heavy day for me here, and it's been a long time coming. A real long time coming. And this is the moment, you know, many of us, Michelle, I believe you're one of these people that, you know, some of us were born to be here right now. And all these events like yesterday are meant to create a mass psychosis. And regardless of what you think really happened or didn't happen, the unfortunate thing is that some of the more feeble-minded within our society are very vulnerable to this psychosis. And what they're really trying to do now is to foment a civil war. We never want to condone violence of any type, but there comes a time where good men need to do something. Mm-hmm. And make no mistake, they're not just coming for us, they've already come. Look at the skies. Hear what Michelle will be talking about today as far as massive displacement of indigenous people and also just people living in Hawaii, period. This is a war.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, a lot of folks have not awakened yet, which makes our plight a little bit more difficult. But many of us have been preparing for decades. We've been getting our bodies right, our minds right. We've been getting right with God. And we're fine with having a difference of opinion with each other. That's what this country's about. But we don't just wake up one morning and say, I disagree with you, so I'm going to shoot you in the fucking neck. Excuse my language, but, this is the time. So we're going to talk about Maui in particular as a microcosm of what's going on in the world, and especially in this country, because this country, not in a political sense, but in a spiritual sense, is the heart of the world. And there's a reason why they're coming for us in particular. So it's game day. The moment has come, and it's time for us to stand up for ourselves and not tolerate this anymore. So forgive the rant, Michelle. Normally we kind of get right in, with our guest and put on a cheery face, but it's a dark day. So thank you again, Michelle. And you are truly a warrior. You've stood down, authorities and people, in Hawaii, and you're getting the word out. And the events of yesterday show clearly, and in my experience in the past, we've learned the hard way ourselves, that when you speak truth, they do come after you. And so it takes courage to stick your neck out. And thank you for doing that and all that you do. So with that, why don't we just let you maybe tell us a little bit about your history and how you came to this place as far as being, we'll just say, activist for lack of a better word, but I prefer warrior. And thanks again. So we'll give it over to you.
Well, mahalo nui loa. Thank you very much for having me, and aloha everybody who's watching. So I hear you. People call me brave and all of that, but what got me going was anger. I was more angry than I was afraid. I've been a fitness and wellness instructor since 1996. My first book is End Dieting Hell. It won 4 awards in 2019. So I was focused on launching that book. And then 2020 happened, and being a fitness trainer, I was going through Costco, and I was like, okay, wait, had the mask on, had the hand sanitizer on. After 2 weeks, I was like, okay, wait, hand sanitizer is poison for your gut. You don't want to put it on your body. And this mask helps against a virus like a mosquito, like a chain link fence helps against a mosquito. This isn't making sense. So I started really looking into it. And when I realized, I looked up the history of the regular flu for the past 6 years on the Hawaiian Islands killed more people than COVID. So that's when I was like, okay, this is not Pono, which means not right. And that's when I started my just speaking out. We stood on the road with, I mean, massive signs, 5 foot long signs every single week for 6 months. One of the signs was God would not mask you. And we did take the police chief to the Maui police, to the police commissioner here on Big Island. He retired. He wasn't found guilty of anything because we actually went into stores without masks on. 5 officers came and harassed us. And there's a medical exemption, Exhibit J of the emergency proclamation. So that's why we took all the police commissioners and the 5 officers and complained, and nothing happened. They said not enough evidence, of course. And then he did retire though 2 months later, so that was good. The health summit that I did, nobody would rent us a spot. And there was a mandate, and again, mandates are not laws. Governors cannot make laws. The legislative body is the only people that can make a law. So nobody would rent to us because the mandate was No more than 10 people could congregate. So I live streamed an event at the beach park, and we had 30 people sitting there for 2 hours. Live streamed Peggy Hall, Dr. Mary Ruwert, talking about COVID, talking about how to keep yourself healthy. And then when we stood up to do the prayer, I saw in the corner of my eye cops coming, and I was like, okay, we're done. So long story short, we ended up having 15 cop cars streaming down Ali'i Drive, which is a one lane road. I mean, this is where people walk and bike, and they were flying down this one lane road like somebody was just murdered. 15 cop cars, 22 officers, all of them with their blues on and their mask. And we're standing there, mostly women, maybe 12 of us left. And I remember looking at this officer in his eyes, and I go, I know you know this is wrong. You're supposed to be on our side. You took an oath to defend and support the Constitution. You're supposed to be on our side. And at one point, like they all got together, it's like they were waiting, and then they just walked at us and grabbed 5 people, arrested 5 people. Then we all left, and then they almost blocked the exit. They almost blocked the exit, but I saw the officer block the exit and then back up. So we left, and then all of the 5 people that they arrested, and I was surprised they didn't arrest me. I don't know if they knew that I didn't know that I was the one that started it, but all of the 5 people held their ground that they did nothing wrong. And after 6 months of court cases, all of the charges were dropped because the emergency proclamation was not a law. So there was no law that they broke. So that is, that's the power. Yes, it does, it's scary. I'm not going to say I wasn't afraid. And I've prayed every single time I've done something. I remember going into my first store without a mask on and going there and praying, going, okay, Great Spirit, I'm giving this to you. I'm going to do this because I know this is right. And I know that I know I'm being called to do this, but I'm trusting you to see what happens. And so, I can share more stories about that. But when the fire happened, I paused a little bit before looking into it too much because I had so much backlash from speaking out against COVID and people telling me I was killing people's grandmothers and everything. And so I wanted to respect those who transitioned on, who died in the fire. But when the Hawaii governor went to the United Nations and said it's climate change, I was infuriated because first of all, why does a governor go to speak to the world leaders? There's no reason. I've never heard of a governor speaking at the United Nations and the world leaders. And then the whole bit that he was talking on was climate change, climate change. You guys right now watching, go to World Climate Declaration. Just put World Climate Declaration in your URL, and you will see a PDF. You will see a website that has a document that over 2,000 credentialed scientists from around the world have signed this World Climate Declaration stating there's no climate emergency. Is there climate change? Happens every single second of the day. But climate emergency is not happening based on credentialed meteorologists, geologists, everybody that deals with the weather. John Coleman, the founder of the Weather Channel, the first meteorologist on Good Morning America, when he gets on CNN and the first words out of his mouth, because he knows the reporter is going to mess with him, he's like, there's no climate emergency. This is all a sham. And it was wonderful. So I just want to say thank you so much for keeping the story alive, because what happened to Maui, Los Angeles, the Tubbs fire in California, all of these paradise, I can show you pictures. This was an absolute 100% attack on the people. And people who, when trees don't burn, when people, I'll show you images of the people that you can see the braids in their hair. You can see the houses are white ash. The cars are melted, but the trees, pine trees, palm trees, still standing straight up behind the car that's melted. And that is not normal. So I just want to say again, mahalo nui loa for having me, because we still need to keep this story alive and others. And I think I was naive when I wrote this book, and I didn't mean to write it. It was like I had so much information and I was interviewing so many people 50-year arborist that talked about how the trees that did burn should not have burned and the ones that should have burned didn't burn. 33-year firefighter. You know, I had so much information. I was like, if I don't document this, they're going to erase it all. And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. So I have so many pictures in the book. I have there was an act through Congress of Direct Energy Weapons Systems Acquisition Act of 2016, the Weather Modification Act of 1976. I mean, you guys, I think I was naive in thinking I'm going to write this book and then it's all going to be done and there's going to be no more attacks on America or on the world. And I think that the only way to get this to stop is to get so many people to see the truth that we stand up and say no more, because I don't know what else to do around it. But I just want to say again, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And, you know, being the anniversary also of 911, look at how much information has come out. Tucker is doing a 5-part series. I believe the first episode is dropping today. There's no more secrets. And the only thing that we can do is just stand up and not take it. And I believe we're coming to that moment of the only thing possible left is massive civil disobedience. And, you know, if people just expect to keep filing papers every April 15th and going out to vote for the same uniparty, you know, and on, and just go in and pay your tickets, you know, that you're given on the roadside by the highway bandits, you know, nothing's ever going to stop. And it's because people really have to grow up here right now. And anybody who believes that Maui was a natural fire, or Paradise, or Santa Rosa, or any of the others that we mentioned is just, you know, we're sorry, but, you know, we don't have it left to talk to you anymore. So we really want to get into some of the photographic imagery and the evidence that you have. I think that's still important. And then I'd like to use that to segue into what's going on. Why are these people doing this? Who are these people?
Yeah.
And that's the big question. So wherever you'd like to take it from there, if you want to, you know, do some of your share screen.
Yeah, I would love to. So
Okay.
what I'm going to share is, yeah, okay.
Sorry
So
about that. I accidentally muted you.
thought I did something. This is Tubbs fire. Okay. This this fi- this is just blows my mind. First, you have to understand why they call it a wildfire. They can't call it a forest fire because the forest isn't burning anymore. And a forest fire, a regular fire, will be black. You will have black houses, black soot. A forest fire will not turn the refrigerator and the toilet and the stove to nothing. Okay, that's a regular forest fire will not do that. A wildfire, an attack like this, these houses are all white ash, which means really hot. But look at the pine trees; they're still up. The heat dried them out, but it didn't burn it. Same thing with the Paradise Fire. This was a trailer park, and my mother lives 20 minutes from Paradise, so I went up there. Paradise was my first job, was in Paradise. I remember seeing houses that were just white ash, nothing, and then there'd be a whole house completely intact, no singe marks, no burn marks, nothing. All the trees still around, a white picket fence still around the whole house. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment. This is Maui, of course, with the palm trees. The palm trees, how in the world do palm trees not burn in a fire? But the house is disintegrated into nothing. The engine block is gone. All of the windows, to melt glass, I believe it's about 2,200 to 2,400 degrees. A regular forest fire is about 12 to 1,400 degrees. But yet the palm trees, the fire just is like, oh, I'm going to leave the palm trees. And then this is, of course, LA. And there was with all the trees here, again, white ash. I remember seeing a reporter talking about what was it, Alameda. He was talking about Alameda, and she had a picture, of all the houses that burned in the Alameda, but all of the trees are still there and all the bushes. And I'm like, how is she not saying anything about the trees that are still standing up with all their branches and leaves? And here's what the thing, when I interviewed, at the time he was a 48-year arborist, and now he calls himself the forensic arborist because he's been to this is Robert Bram, he's been to over 100 locations. And I said, how, he's studied trees all his life. I said, how do trees not burn in a fire? I said, it's hot. How are they not catching on fire? He said, Michelle, this type of fire is a different chemistry. He said the chemistry of the fire doesn't recognize the organic material. The chemistry, he says a microwave, this is like a microwave chemistry fire. If you put a chicken breast into a microwave, it doesn't catch on fire. It cooks and heats the water inside the chicken. That's actually what's cooking. So that's why the trees that were on fire, they actually were burning from the inside out. The trees were burning from the inside out because the water was on fire, not the actual tree, but the water. This is Tubbs 2017. Inside, like the only way this could happen is a lightning strike. That's it. A natural lightning strike would actually make this happen, but nothing. This is Maui. And then this one, I was like, somebody sent this to me. And I thought, okay, this is absolutely impossible that there's a hole inside the tree. I think some type of laser or something hit this because the whole bark on the outside is still there. Like that's impossible. And then I want to show and please stop me if you want to have any questions. This one's disturbing, everybody. Just warning here. These are the bodies. Oh, the one body I won't show you that's in the book. It's very challenging. Okay, something happened with the ground. The ground was really hot because look at the feet. Even the victim up here, they're gone. Something happened with the ground. But how in the world does a fire leave a human body with you're able to recognize the hair and the fingers and the arm? This is not normal. This person should be all either total skeleton or ash. There's no way that a person would burn like this. The other thing is a person doesn't fall this way. You know, I've been teaching fitness for 30 years. A person falls when they're going down, their arms are out, their knees, they're trying to protect their face, their head turns. They don't land face first unless something happens very, very quickly. Something happened very quickly. Then this toad, my friend, I actually held this toad. It's no longer here. I'll tell you the story in a moment. This toad he found in the burn zone, it's in a leaping position. It's about to leap. And something happened, completely hollow on the inside, completely hollow, no water, nothing. I sent this to a frontline doctor who said he would test it for microwave energy. He never got back to us. He ghosted us. He wouldn't respond to our texts, our phone calls. I even called one of his colleagues to ask his colleague's wife to please contact him for us. He never returned any calls. Then my friend gets robbed. His house gets robbed and the frog gets taken. And I wish I would have taken a part of it. There's another picture about a dog that I want to show. And this one is in Maui. How do you have a dog where you're able to see the ears and the nose, the paw pads, the fur? This is not a normal fire. A dog, you would be again ash or skeleton. The fur, it would burn from the outside in, not the inside out. This one, when I was researching this, and this was the beginning of my investigation. I wish I would have sourced this and taken more shots because this is in Texas. This is impossible. How do you see the ears and the nose? This is not normal. To the left side, this field that this bull was in, all of the cows looked like this. All of the cows. So this is an attack of some sort. It's not normal. And we should all, be speaking out against to our legislative body saying there needs to be an investigation. and maybe that's the answer, because I've sent my book to Tulsi Gabbard. I was hoping, okay, maybe Doge can do something, but I think now it's the people that need to be making a stand and contacting their legislative body, contacting your senators and your representatives and saying, you need to do some type of an investigation on these fires, because this is not normal. Let's give it back to you.
Yeah, legislative bodies. I think that's a good tact. Just making noise. Period. To be honest, I don't have much faith in contacting my representatives since they're acting members on a board of a private corporation and really not representing people. They have to represent other interests, and they're contracted to do so. But yeah, it does have an effect. And I think there are a couple good folks in there. Tulsi, which I love Tulsi. And of course, she has that whole connection with Hawaii. So she'd hopefully, when she has less bigger fish to fry, she'll get back and focus on Maui and what's happening in the Hawaiian Islands in general. So there's some hope there. Senator Ron Johnson, I think, is another good one. But yeah, we've got to make some noise. And that's why, again, Mike and I are kind of sticking with podcasts just to get truth and all sorts, out there. And the podcast community is absolutely overwhelming the legacy media. But again, we still have some of the zombie class that keep watching that stuff. So
maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene too. She could probably be one that would go after. But yeah, I agree. Like, that's the thing. Like, Bear and I have uncovered so much on this podcast around the corporatization of the entire political class. They're all bought, and they're all just serving a different master. However, there are lots of great solutions. I know we'll probably get into the affidavits you guys are doing, but sending out notices to the creature class that, at least for them allowing this to happen under their own, they have the responsibility if they're put on notice to do something, and if not, then you can accelerate that to a notice of liability, because they're liable for this, and then you can hold them personally accountable through that process. Our friend Cal Washington has the In Power movement, where they've set it up so you can automatically do this for geoengineering, 5G technology, smart meters, the roll up your sleever V, and got to be a little careful here on YouTube. They don't like that word when you say that, the vax. So, but anyways, yeah, I'd love to get a little bit into that, Michelle, because I know you've been a big advocate for the affidavit of truth, and I will just say, any act that we can do, and I like how we open that up with the summary here. If any act is small or large that you feel compelled to do, it's about taking some sort of action in your life, starting today. And that will help turn the tide, right? This is a decentralized sort of bottom-up upswelling of action that needs to happen. And I think they will have to take notice if there's enough people getting in the streets and sending them these notices.
If I could quickly add one element to that, there are greater intelligences in existence that have our back, but they can't do it for us. They need to work through us. So every act that we take, no matter how small or futile it might seem, it has an amazing impact, because that allows us to become conduits for much greater powers that, like Saint Germain said a long time ago in the founding of this country, he said, "I would never have put my hand to the task unless I knew our victory was already won." So, Michelle, please continue on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, that's why when I wrote this book, I was like, I have to tell people about who owns America. So I have Who Owns America, The Truth About Carbon, Smart Cities, and Climate Change Revealed, and what Americans are doing about it. And one of that is Cal Washington's Notice of Liability. We actually have sent to the governor all of the notices of liability, all four. the smart cities, the vaccine, the geoengineering, 5G, and we're in the process of that right now. We just did our first round with him. We did send him an affidavit, 17 pages. It's in the back of the book in the addendum. And it's a 17-page affidavit that showed why there needs to be an outside investigation on Maui, what all of the things that were not adding up to that being a normal fire. But however, this man, you know, there is an evil here. The country has been taken over since the Civil War. Since the Civil War, this has been going on. Thaddeus Stevens is the one that put forth the 14th Amendment after the Civil War, and that actually started the enslavement of the people. And then in 1930s is when the Maternity Act started, which registered everybody's birth and literally corporatized human beings. So I'm actually writing another book on this too, and it's called The Death of Freedom: How the American Dream Dies and How to Save It. And it literally has, I'll show you guys a picture of it. Actually, I'm doing pre-sales, but it's a picture of a graveyard, because it's the date is July 4th, 1776, and freedom died on October 26th, 2021. 2001, and that was with the signing of the Patriot Act after 9/11. So what a great day. This is to be sharing the fact that because of that attack, 9/11 attack on the people, again, how do two-story buildings just dissolve into nothing, into their footprint? Like, oh, and then you find somebody's passport on the sidewalk. Yeah, that's really possible. No.
There is almost a great case to be made that there's a very definitive connection between the technology that put those towers down and the technology behind these fires.
100%. And I've been to 9/11 memorial, and I found it interesting because these are satanic demons. I mean, these are absolute Luciferian evil people. And what is the memorial look like? I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's a square, black square, water running into this black square, going down into, you can't see the end. It just is like that, in my view, when I looked at that, because they worship Saturn. And Saturn is the black mortar, the black square. This is why judges wear black. This is why when you graduate, you have a black mortar board. Why do you have a black mortar board on your head after you graduate? That is a representation of Saturn. And that, when I looked at that, it looked like a Saturn, a certain Saturn symbol. And I think that was, and what's happening? Water is going down into nothing. It just disappears. The water just disappears out of this black square. Anyway, I don't want to get off the subject too much, but this is a Luciferian cult. Absolutely. People who murder and innocent people, including children. I mean, they're trying to normalize the killing of children. I actually was watching one of the new Star Trek episodes. Yes, I'm a Trekkie. And they had this is so disturbing. They had a child that was being killed in this little sitcom, and its energy, they had it hooked up, and its energy was being pulled out of it to energize the planet, to energize, to give them lights, to give them I'm just like, I can't even barely speak about it because it's so disgusting. And when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, they're normalizing the murder of children. And I remember talking to a child at a party recently here on the island, and the child told me that one of the cartoons he was watching murdered a baby. And I'm like, this is a cartoon for children. So they're normalizing children. They're trying to normalize pedophilia. It's disgusting. And I'm always like, where's your line in the sand? Where is your line? Because my line was when they burned children alive. The children, they was, in fact, I'll show you guys. I think that I have this on this presentation here. I think I have it. Let me see if I can find it really quick for you. It's right here. This is the enrollment. The 3,001 children in the Lahaina Luna school complex prior to the fire. Then after the fire, 538 re-enrolled in Lahaina Luna the school complex, 438 enrolled in private school. 2,025 children did not re-enroll in any school. So this was after the fire. The friend of mine, Paul Preston, who's now the governor of the new California state, that they're working on creating a new California state.
We're
Actually,
we're intimately aware of what Paul's doing. Yeah.
that he was a superintendent, and he called the Hawaiian Education Department 2 weeks after, and then 3 weeks after the fire, asked, has any school requested the academic records for these 2,025 children? He said he had a pause on the phone, and then the person said no. So I've actually contacted them recently and asked, okay, it's 2 years later. Has any school requested the academic records? I haven't gotten a response back yet, so I'm going to be doing a FOIA request.
Well, how many of those families of the children are now living in homeless encampments or completely strung out on the fentanyl that they brought in?
Or committed suicide. They're not,
Yeah.
they didn't talk about that. There was a lot of people that committed suicide after the fires, a couple, husband and wife, because their children were gone. And the official count of the children, even though the governor told in his first interview, he told the reporter, he said, we think there's going to be a lot of children. He's told his team that, and they were let out of school. They weren't in school, so they were either at home by themselves or with their auntie or uncle. The official count of children that passed was 3. That's
Wow.
impossible. That's absolutely impossible. One of my friends who lives there says that down the street, she knows of an entire family of 10 people that died in one house. On the first day of recovering the bodies, they found 50 bodies on the first day. And yet the official count at the end of all of it was 102 deaths. And that's absolutely impossible. And then I was talking to an uncle on one of the islands, Molokai, which is to the right side of Maui, and Lanai is in front of Maui. So the people in the water, the other thing is Ellie Cochran, the state representative, was said the wind was blowing so hard that if you held on to something and you were in the water, you were going to get blown out to sea. But yet we have 0 missing. So everybody's accounted for, and 102 deaths in the worst fire in Hawaiian history with 0 warning. The best warning system in the world was not turned on. And but my friend, my uncle friend who lives on one of the islands, told me that he had a friend on Lanai, which is the island directly in front of Lahaina, and they said bodies were washing up on the shore.
Wow.
That's not in any report. That's not in any report. In fact, the report from the Maui Fire Department, they went on YouTube, did this whole presentation, and they were so proud of themselves. They spent 10 minutes congratulating themselves of how great they are. And then when you look at the report, none of their names are on it. All of the names of the investigators for the fire in Maui are redacted off of the report. You cannot see who worked on the report. So many things, you guys. The Emergency Management Center had the sign-in sheet. You're supposed to sign in when you go to the emergency management area for whatever emergency. But during the fire, names were crossed off. Names were crossed off, and this 40-year Maui emergency management employee said he's never in 40 years seen a sign-in sheet that looked like that with crossed off names. And this is all in the book. In fact, this is the 4th edition. It's the 4th edition because the first edition I had 21 Maui fire anomalies. Then I had 27 fire anomalies. Then I added LA, and then I was just like, oh my gosh. So I finally stopped. But it's absolutely unbelievable. And I just want to say, you guys, it doesn't matter how small your action is, you have to take some type of form of action, because one day you're going to die, and then you're going to have to look back at your life and say, did I do everything that I was here to do? There's a reason why you're here. It's not a mistake. And for me, it's like, again, my anger is so much more stronger than my fear. And again, one day I'm going to die, and I'm proud so far of the work I've done, and working still toward I still believe that the infinite creator of all things, which is moving the sun and beating our hearts and running the tides in the ocean, it brought us here for a reason to have this is a game of life. That are we brave enough to follow our guided intuition, our heart? We have not been told the truth about this world. We have not been told the truth about how the body works. The body is a triad from your heart, your brain, and your emotions. I don't want to get off topic, but your heart remembers. It has 40,000 neurites, which are similar to neurons, and the body's mind, brain, and heart all work together. So when you feel that gut feeling, follow it. Trust yourself. This is why, when I was going to a store to not have a mask on, I was praying, but I knew I was supposed to do it. I knew it. And I actually got into the store without my mask on. I was walking around and people were smiling at me. I could see their eye smiles. And then I got up to the register and the clerk was like, we can't check you out. She's doing all the buttons and you have to wear a mask. You have to wear a mask. And I said, no, I'm not killing anybody. And I have a right to breathe fresh air. And she wouldn't, then she stopped the manager came out, stopped the whole transaction. And I said, I want to talk to the person in charge. Who's in charge? And so the person who was the manager of the entire small little shopping center comes down. We go outside and she says, would you wear a shield? And I said, no. I said, I'm not going to wear anything that dishonors my freedom and dishonors the men and women who fought and died for it. And she took me back in the store and she checked me out herself. And she gave me one of the bags. And I was just like, my heart was racing. But again, I knew that I was supposed to do that. So I'm just saying this for all of you guys watching, whether it's contacting, your state representative and just complaining so they know, we know what you guys are up to. We're not okay with this. When I was talking to the Hawaii state representative, she said they're feeling the heat. There's so much corruption that's happened in Maui, you guys. We haven't even touched on that yet. But she's the one person who was born in Lahaina, grew up in Lahaina, is the Hawaii state representative for Lahaina, and she survived the fire. And she said, Michelle, these people, they're feeling the heat. She's not getting answers. She's trying to audit the billions of dollars that have come to Maui County, one little Maui County, billions of dollars. And some of the contractors aren't even getting paid. She's like, where's the money? Where's the money going? So, she said they are feeling the heat. So I just want to go back to action, everybody. And I highly recommend that you also go to your county councils, and I'll talk about that later. But yeah, we each one of us is here for a reason. So follow your guided intuition. Mine was to create a book to help share, get the word out, save the proof that it was an attack, save the proof and help people understand why. Because it does talk about the Patriot Act. It does talk about the IRS, which is not part of the government. So I'll give it back to you because I could keep going.
Yeah, no, and everything you said is far from off topic. It's right on the beam, and we discuss those things, that our true anatomy, our etheric anatomy, how it works, how it's affected, and just the technologies. We're talking about just overt acts of mass violence, but we have to also consider that all the technology that we use is a slow kill, what they're spraying in the skies, and so. There's been a mass plummet in life expectancy. Kids nowadays are just hormonally disrupted. Little boys are not little boys anymore. So it's even more sinister than just these more obvious acts. Now, we titled this whole episode "The Great Land Grab," and so maybe if we could lead our discussion into who's getting the land, because it's obvious on Maui. A lot of my friends that are still there and still make their living on the tourism. Tourism is about half of what it once was. So obviously there are interests that supersede even the larger financial interests that have golf tournaments and run hotels and things. So there seems to be something above their heads even that wants the land. So who are these guys?
Yeah. Well, excuse me. I'm going to show you a picture of Lahaina 15 months after the fire. So 15 months after the fire.
Wow. I have so many fond memories with my kids growing up there, and we'd surf along Thousand Peaks into Puamana, on the weekend, and then we go into Lahaina and see a movie, and Lahaina was just such a quaint little place, plus just the heart of the islands in the first place. And just to look at this picture, it's almost more than I can bear. It's
Yeah. So
yeah.
it looks like it's still like a war zone. What they did was they took 6 inches of soil out, and then they put rocks, they put gravel down on all of the foundations. The homeowners have to pay to remove the gravel now before they
Wow.
do their foundation. There's been, I believe, 8 houses now that have been built, 0 businesses on the front line in the heart of Lahaina town. 0 businesses have been allowed to build, 0 houses on the coast. And they're saying, oh, it's because the water level's coming up. See, they're not telling all the other houses that they can't stay there, and all the other businesses that are around the island next to the coast. I think they should do a lawsuit on discrimination, because they're not allowing they have I'll just stop share and I'll show you guys these tiny houses that they put people into. Let's see if I can find that really quick, because I
Those
just
look pretty much like FEMA camps to me, the pictures
that's
I've
right.
seen. Hmm.
Yes, that's exactly correct. Let's see here. Oh, here's one of them.
So nobody's broken ground in Lahaina and started
No,
rebuilding at all?
there's been about 8, maybe 8 to 10 buildings, something like that. People are getting permits, but none that are on the coast, none on the none of the businesses. Businesses again have not been allowed to rebuild. They are. This is so disgusting. Let me show you this. This was really infuriating, Ellie Cochran, the state representative, because these are going on to people's property. These I don't know what they are. These houses, these, I don't know, these little tiny houses,
What aesthetically pleasing domiciles there?
right? And these are, she said, these are like concentration camps. Like, people are going in. There's so these are also, there's 3 areas of these tiny houses. One is these kind of A-frame houses that are FEMA houses. They're put up by FEMA. They're behind Lahaina. They're near the mountain. Then another one is these glass bowl Elon Musk. The glass bowl Elon Musk houses cost $400,000 a piece. Okay, that's first of all insane. Second, why didn't they give that money to the homeowner so they could build a permanent house on their property? So that's another.
Did that money was that from the billions that were, didn't they get billions in federal relief?
Yep, yep. So, and also there's the Hawaii governor suspended 22 laws prior to the fire, the month prior to the fire. First one being the historical preservation law that he suspended, but also he's now suspended bidding laws. So there was somebody in Hilo, my island, that bid on the tiny home jobs. He was going to do houses. I think it was like 40,000 a piece, and they ignored his bid. They didn't even respond to him. So something's going on, and also that money of $400,000. The state representative was telling me, she's like, that's not the money that was quoted off. Like, these houses were created somewhere like small Thailand or something, I don't know, Malaysia somewhere. That's not how much they cost, but yet that's how much they cost when they got here, and after all is said and done. So where, somebody's making out pretty good here. The other thing I want to share around these FEMA camps, there have been 4 deaths. There have been 4 deaths. One of them, the state representative told me about. She said the first one was like, she said she doesn't even know. She says it was a man or woman that they're not on the media. She's like, the man or woman, they don't know how they died. 3 of the 4 deaths are unknown causes. Unknown causes. So we could guess of that's what it was. One was a 16-year-old boy who died in his sleep. One body was found decomposing in their tiny house. And then the 4th one was somebody who died of a heart attack, who's one of her church congregation members, and that was a natural death. But 4 people have died. There's also been a fire in the FEMA camps, and unknown cause for a fire in the fire survivor camp. And it's like Ellie Cochran was like, told the fire chief, you cannot not have a cause for a fire in our area. We have to know how it happened so that we can prevent it. So
Well, I'm sure all those domiciles were constructed with non-toxic safe materials.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. She's worried about that exact thing. She's wondering, are they toxic? There was a ohana, a kapuna, an elder who broke both hands because she was walking through her tiny house, and it had a lip that she, it was at nighttime, she didn't see it, and she fell with her hands forward and broke both of her arms. And she said that these tiny houses they're just not safe, and nobody's doing anything. She's asked for an audit, and she's asked, when I interviewed her yesterday, I said, what can we do? What action can we do? Because I'm all about actions. And she said, contact your representative, your state representative, senators, and representatives, and ask them to do an audit on the disaster relief funds. Where is the money? So we're doing that on our end.
Can you speak a little bit about the plans that are already on the books for smart cities? And Scott Buell, talked about that a little bit on our last episode.
Yeah.
And I know the North Big Island also all projected for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, all of the islands. So Maui was set to be the first smart island, smart city. In 2015, Japanese and Hawaiian stakeholders decided this without legislation, without any public input. And also LA, North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, all these places that have been attacked, all set to be smart cities. And so what they're doing is they are putting infrastructure in based on that right now. There was a bill, we stopped this bill. However, a lot of that bill is still moving forward. Some of the actions, I was told, they're still moving forward. But this one bill, this is so crazy. This one bill would have taken out the entire west coast of Maui to rebuild Lahaina. So Lahaina is one dot on the entire west coast of Maui. And there was a bill, and I think it's 8311. It's in the book, the bill. But this bill, again, would have taken out the entire west coast of Maui, given it to one governing board of 9 people that the governor would appoint, and then people were supposed to elect. But it would have taken the entire west coast of Maui out of the Maui governance, and it would have been like a completely different governing board. And everybody's like, what are you doing? So this bill did not pass, thank God. But I have been told that a lot of things in the bill are still moving forward. And that comes back to, who benefits? Who benefits from these fires? If you look at the renewable energy companies, in fact, I can show you that slide. I have that slideshow. Let's see here, right here. Who gains? So if you're looking at the renewable energy companies, electric companies, the largest stockholders, BlackRock and Vanguard. Qatar Investment Authority is one of the #1 largest stockholders of Iberdrola, which is the largest renewable energy company. And what's really interesting about Qatar investment is Qatar is right next to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is putting up the line, which is having a lot of issues right now. They've actually had to lower their expectations of this project. But this line in Saudi Arabia is it's like 21 square miles of a line building where they want to house 9 million people. And it's all 100% renewable. They're gonna focus on people's health and well-being, prioritized over transportation and nature. And they want to preserve nature for nature. And you guys, that's a very important thing. And the reason I'm sharing this is because this is what's coming for all of us. They want to do this with our own in our general plan. This is in our own general plan on Big Island. So I want to show you guys this really quick. This is our general plan right now. You see all these light green? This is agriculture land. Agriculture land. They're wanting to turn it into natural land, dark green, natural land, preserved for nature, limited people, limited farming, limited building, and this is what we've been fighting. And this is why I want to tell you guys to check out your general plan. I'm going to tell you a very easy way how to do this, but preserve for nature. So if you have ag land in these red spots, I'm sorry, green spots, and let's say you want to build something, or maybe your organic farm uses a certain something to support your growing, and maybe that's not part of the natural regulations now. Maybe you need, maybe they're not going to allow you to do that because it's going to be more rules, more regulations, more fines in these preserved for nature zones. Now you see all the teal? That's conservation land. That's conservation. This is what it was prior. Now this is what it is. It's like most of the island. This is conservation land. That's, again, more rules, more regulations. The yellow part, look at that 15-minute city. These are urban. This is I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's they're wanting to do clustered housing. And if you know Big Island, we live, like, I'm off the grid. I'm 100% off grid. And that's how we live. I'm in a coffee farm and completely off grid. That's how we live. We don't live in clustered housing on top of each other.
Yeah.
And so we've been freaking out, talking, going to our county council members, telling them what this is. The mayor actually at one point called one of us conspiracy theorists, and then I contacted him. He gave me an hour of his time. I brought a stack of documents proving to him that what we were saying is true, and he was like, oh my gosh. And he actually ended up writing a letter saying that he doesn't recognize. So I want to tell you guys, if you're watching, the easiest way to see about your own general plan is ChatGPT. ChatGPT kind of scares me, but I love it for this. You go to ChatGPT and you go, your county, whatever your county name is, Sonoma County or whatever it is, general plan, and you ask ChatGPT, what are the constitutional amendments that Sonoma County, your county's general plan, is violating? So you put that into ChatGPT. What constitutional amendments is Sonoma, your county, general plan violating? I did this. A whole list came up. Then I said, okay, ChatGPT, now I want you to write an affidavit of truth using this information and using any other court cases that you can find to make this as strong as possible.
Fascinating. So it actually pulls that off.
It pulled it all up. In fact, I was on Ann Vandersteel. She did it right there when we were doing a live, and she I can't remember, I think hers is Palm Beach. And she found stuff that came right up. And I said, now create an affidavit, and it creates the affidavit within seconds. I created the one in the book myself. Took me like weeks to create that affidavit. The ChatGPT does it in moments. And then we sent that to all of our county council members. I got it notarized. Some people don't get it notarized. They just do if you don't get it notarized, then it's a notice. But if you get it notarized, it's an affidavit. And so that's how easy it is, you guys. But who was it? Rosa Corey was the first one that was trying to blow the whistle on this. And this was back in the early 2000s, I think. but she used to be, she's no longer with us. She transitioned on from breast cancer, but she was the California State Transportation. She was the California Transportation Branch Manager, and she also was a expert in eminent domain litigation. And she actually was in a court case, and she was researching stuff on the United Nations Agenda 2021 at the time. And this is how she found this. She found Agenda 21 and was like pulled back and was like, what is happening? She ended up seeing how Agenda 21, which is now Agenda 30, wants to inventory all of your property, all of your livestock, everything. And she went to county councils across the nation telling them this is coming through our general plans. And now it's here. And here on the islands, the Hawaii governor has just signed a biosecurity office that is now law. They're going to put a biosecurity into the Hawaii Ag Department. What that does is they can literally confiscate your land, confiscate your livestock, your food, whatever it is you have, on the basis of, oh, there's a beetle or there's a contamination of your soil or whatever they decide to say is biosecurity, and there's no due process. So we're actually fighting that as well. We want to rechange that law and take out the third section that has no due process. So we're working on that. But you guys, I'm a fitness trainer. I am not. I never was gonna. I did not want to get into politics. Still not going to, but I'm going to stand for what is right and checking these people, because this is our Kuleana. What is
Yeah.
ours?
No, I hear you. My vocation was in the health field, and I never dreamt that I'd be going into law on some of these things. And for people that don't know, an unrebutted affidavit of truth is law. And if it is truthful, which you have to make certain that it is, cannot be rebutted. So we've used those a lot in the past just to settle our personal matters and so forth. And another thing that is very effective, it doesn't bring about, mass sanctions against anybody or cost millions of dollars for somebody. But if you really want to be a nuisance, you file your affidavit of facts and then just bring it to small claims court. And what's going to happen is being the moving party, the other party, the plaintiff or the defendant is not going to show up, and you get an automatic judgment. So we learned in the old days, just bring about an enormous amounts of these affidavit of facts, bring them all to small claims court, and they all add up and really create problems for people. So there are a lot of things you can do. Before we went live today, I was telling you that we were looking to expand our farming into the north part of the Big Island. And we had a good number of properties we're looking at around the whole Waipio Valley and Hawaii, and there's an abundance of properties about a year ago. Now they're all gone. But on one particular day, I was just following them on realtor.com. The vast majority of them were all sold in a single day. So you looked, put up your slide a minute ago that had people like BlackRock and everything. So you better bet that where they aren't just going in and burning entire towns, they're just buying up the property. It just doesn't happen that all the available properties are sold in one day. So, and then of course we've learned that they're all projected smart cities.
Yeah, it's a heavy time. I mean, I could keep going with everything that's happening here and everywhere, but this is a spiritual war. I meditate twice in the morning and at night, and as much as I can get into nature, because this is an absolute spiritual war. The same people who are the backbone of BlackRock and Vanguard, they literally they control the country, they control the world. And they have, in my belief and in my research, they've been in charge for thousands of years. This is a very, very evil satanic system. I think there is going to be coming up on another reset. which is change. This is why people don't remember the real past, because of these resets. But also there is an infinite creator. There's a light. Like if you look at our cells, this is why I have this tattoo of the flower of life, because the flower of life is literally the geometric shape that's in all of the cells of our body in the empty space. This is not empty. This is a frequency field. And this is why they have to have us be afraid. They have to afraid, angry, frustrated, or confused, because that's our lower frequency. And when we're in those states, we don't generate a higher frequency and create a world that we want.
And
But
they absolutely harness that energy, and we become the fuel for their battery. Absolutely.
that's right,
Hence
100%.
why BlackRock's called BlackRock. It's
Black rock, but
and
Saturn.
yeah, and it's the inverse of light. So it's literally sucking in the light. And Larry Fink is now who's the CEO of that, and the leader of BlackRock is now also the CEO and chairman of the World Economic Forum, taking over from Dr. Evil himself, Klaus Schwab. So yeah, clearly this is a international, elitist front that could care less about the sanctity of the origins of the freedom of the United States, right? That the experiment that was the republic. And we see that with how Bear started today, talking about what happened yesterday with that tragedy, and just straight up. And I personally believe that was assassination coming from this type of centralized, international coup d'etat of freedom. And it's happening right in front of us. And so, yeah, the solution is spiritual, right, Michelle? It's getting your backyard in order, your family. I mean, this is very practical too, like your health, everything in order with your life first and foremost before going out and trying to be an activist. We always, repeatedly saying that. That's why we're a health and wellness channel. It's like if you're not healthy first and foremost with your life and your family and what you're doing yourself, then you're not going to be very effective. But then once you get that in order, yeah, taking action. I'm a huge fan of Cal Washington and what they're doing there, and they make it really easy to do that. And yeah, Bear has personally had a great experience doing the affidavit of truth in those courts. That makes a lot of sense. And then, of course, just being open to speak with your neighbor about these things. Like Bear and I talk about all the time. It's like with your neighbor, pointing up in the sky and just like, hey, notice those funny clouds right now? What do you think that is? It really, right? It's just not being afraid to speak in the town square with people around you at the gas station. Like they're trying to quell free speech. That seems to be very obvious with what happened yesterday. And just having that simple courage to speak what you feel in the open marketplace of ideas is so, so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, again, I wrote this book, because I wanted to make it really easy for the normies to get what's going on. Because the normies who don't really understand that this government is a corporation, they're curious about Maui. They're maybe curious about, they're curious about the fires. That this opens the door for that. It's like, okay, this is what happened. And the other thing is that they go, the first thing I say with people who don't understand what's going on, Michelle, why would they do that? Why would they do that? And I say, you have to understand who owns America and what's coming. And
Yeah.
so that's, I was at my canoe club, and honestly, a lot of the Hawaiians, they don't speak about this, and they some of them I have a couple on my list, and a couple that help me with a lot of things, but my canoe club of 50 people, 60 people, we had a talent show. So I got up. I was the first one to get up. I said, okay, I have to explain my talent. So let me just explain what my talent is about. So first thing I have to tell you guys, and I went through the governor. Our governor has suspended. He has right now, you guys. Our Hawaii governor has signed 9 emergency proclamations based on administrative issues. He has suspended 32 laws without legislation. We're talking, there's an emergency proclamation right now because we don't have enough school bus drivers. There's an emergency proclamation because somebody's hotel building was supposedly needs to come down. Yeah, and so he suspended 32 laws, procedural laws, bidding laws. I mean, it's insane. And so I started talking about that, talked about a little bit about Maui, and then I said, now this is my talent. So everybody hold hands or touch somebody, and we did a prayer. And I said, feel the frequency of when we're on the water and when we're in timing and when we're gliding together. When we had a manta ray jump out of the water right next to our canoe when we were paddling, I said, feel that frequency when we catch a bump, a wave, and we're on it and we're going and we feel the push of the ocean. I said, now feel it going out to the neighborhood, now going out to the whole big island, now all the Hawaii islands, now the mainland, Canada, Mexico, Europe. We just surround. I said this frequency of love, of ohana is surrounding the planet. And we feeling that now, and it touches anybody who's feeling alone and scared. And that's our power, you guys. We feel it, like you guys said, first in ourselves, and then we put it out, and we be kind to each other, because they
Yeah,
always show us the worst of humanity, but we are actually kind people. If you're really human, you love each other. We love each other, and we want to help each other.
We
absolutely.
we've talked about this a lot on the show, Hawaii being the heart chakra of the plant of this place. So that's a powerful thing you're doing there, because it's literally that resonating love energy that's, very concentrated there, right?
Very true. That's one thing I love about paddling, because when we're racing, we have a whole race day, and the children start at 8:30 in the morning, and the grandparents end it at 5 o'clock at night. I mean, the whole day is people racing, and kids are not on their cell phones. Kids are laughing, jumping in the water. I'm like, did I just go back in time like 50 years or something? This
Yeah,
is
it's an amazing thing. Both my wife and myself belong to canoe clubs, so weekends were all about regattas and just huli huli chicken and and huli huli. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but yeah, just great times. Unfortunately, a lot of the native Hawaiians all fell for the roll up your sleever, and one of the side effects of that is it really dampens your bandwidth of perception. And a very common thing that people we hear saying is, I can't feel God anymore. So you better believe that that was a huge part of their whole plan, and still is. So I have to ask you now. I know none of us really know what's going to happen next, or who's really who. I was first made aware of your work when I saw you on Nino's Corner. Now, Nino, does a lot of great things, but he really believes trust the plan, and that El Presidente is, got a plan. I personally, I'm a political atheist, and that's just where I come from. So because we see the present administration in bed with a lot of these tech people and so forth, what's your take? Do you think there's actually somebody trying to steer the ship back on course, or is even he in on it, which I kind of suspect?
Well, you actually have to. The Rothschild mirror. He actually said a long time ago, when the people want a hero, we will give them one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
I was a Trump supporter. I was actually on the side of the road with the Trump flag. And then when he started promoting the thingy, I was like, okay, wait a minute here. And I stepped back, and then I started looking a little bit deeper, and I was really disappointed and shocked. And then I thought, okay, it has to come from the people. That's who's going to save us. Nobody is going to save us except the person watching this video, sitting in your seat, who's sitting in the seat watching right now. Everybody watching, you are your savior. You are the hero you've been waiting for. It's
Yeah.
you. And so you got it. It's like, you know, you will be guided to what to do, even if it's just going to your county council member and looking at your general plan and talking to your neighbor, like you said, maybe getting the book and sharing it with people. I have people that, anyway, they share the book and get it out there. And that's again why I'm writing another book, because I thought, okay, I have so much information that's in the Maui book, but let's redesign it now and go deeper into the hidden secrets, the symbols. I mean, there's like so much information. It's absolutely insane. And when people start to go down the rabbit hole, it's intense. After each chapter, though, I have a prayer because we have to remember this is a game we came to play. You guys, everyone is going to die. No one gets out of here alive. And what we do here, we is for our own spiritual growth. For our own spiritual growth, we look back at our frequency rises. Who we are as people rises. So the first thing I tell people: clean up your relationships with your family. Clean up your relationships. Forgive. Find a way that you can find just a little bit of peace and a little bit of love and a little bit of trust in the universe, whatever you call God, and then start to create a relationship with your higher power and trust your inner guidance. That's why we're here. This is a game that we came to play, and we may all be the pawn, what they think of as pawns, but we are way more powerful when we come together. That's why I started a website called Stand Together Hawaii, and I send out action steps. That's what I was asking the state representative, what can we do? She said, contact your representatives and ask them to do an audit on the funding that has been brought to Maui. So that's an action that we're going to do. It's something simple that people can do. So, I love that you said, even just talk to your neighbor, do something kind, because when you do something kind, not only does it affect you, it affects anybody watching it, anybody looking. I remember being at the grocery store, and this person from Australia, she didn't have the funds, or something happened with her debit card or something, and she couldn't afford it. And I said, I'll pay for it. And like, this look on her face was shocked, and the clerk was smiling, and the people behind me were smiling, and it was like that. And I just got chills everywhere. It's like, that's why we're here, to remember that we're not alone. We're in this together, and we have to be kind to each other. That's why they show the worst of people, because they don't want us to remember that our kuleana, what is ours to do, is to be kind and loving. And the first part of that is to yourself. So for forgiving yourself, for whatever, and find your own peace. So I really thank you for that.
Random acts of kindness. I love it. Yeah.
It really matters. It really, really does. And then also just know, you are your hero. You're not here just to do your job and then die, try to get to retirement. All of this, the whole thing is a complete sham, is a complete lie. The education, getting a job, and then wait till retirement, white picket fence, all of it is a complete and total lie.
And it's all about money.
Right.
And the younger generation now is realizing that they can't get enough no matter how many hours they work. They keep moving the goalpost on everybody. And if you don't think that they're going to pull the rug out of the whole financial system just about any second, it's designed to do that from the start. We all know that. So that's coming, and that will be even perhaps the biggest chaos producing event out of everything they've done, because that's where everybody's consciousness is at. It's about money. So you take that away, and it's coming. Or they'll give us our little stipends in a digital form, just barely enough to stay alive. So that is why the Rothschilds, back to them a long time ago, said show me a country whose economy we can control, something like that. And, it's stronger than a standing army. And it's really the truth.
That is the truth. Yeah. But again, prayer, meditation, again, we have not been told the truth about our brain and the power of our imagination. That's why in the morning and at nighttime, right before I go to bed, I visualize what it is I want, which my vision is that what if everybody on the planet woke up and they were excited about life, and they loved life, and they were in really great relationships. And that's what I feel. And children were safe, and children were laughing and playing with each other. And I literally feel that in my body before I go to sleep. And then when I wake up in the morning, I get into gratitude. And that is power. Why in the world did Einstein say imagination is more important than knowledge? And because we have not been told that your imagination is actually what is creating the world. And when you imagine the past and when you imagine fear-based things, you're helping perpetuate that. And that's why they have to keep these mainstream stories alive, because if people really, really understood that their imagination is what actually creates the planet we live on, people would really find ways to start to see and feel what it is that they want.
Which is why the Western scientific system has evolved to really downplay imagination, to say, well, it's only your imagination, or it's placebo, or some such thing. You know, we talk a lot on our channel about people like Walter Russell. I don't know if you're aware of him, but he was a contemporary of Tesla, and perhaps in advance in a lot of ways. They did a lot of correspondence with each other. But I bring him up because Walter made the knowledge that you're speaking of, you know, about the truth coming from the heart, and there's nothing that can be in existence if we don't imagine it first. He says our planet would be barren if it didn't, you know, if nobody ever had an idea. But he goes through the entire, you know, more from a Western left brain analysis as far as how an idea is an electrical event, and then how it steps down through the etheric precipitation to create our experience. And, you know, and we like to talk about that a lot. Not that that's where we come from all the time. We like to just live our hearts, you know, our daily, you know, from the heart. But it's nice when you get the information out, so even people's overactive left brains can understand it. Wow, that's really the way it works. And it reconciles that incongruity, that dissonance that we all feel when we're told the truth, but then our brain is arguing with it all the time. So yeah, it's what you're speaking of is scientific fact, real science, not the phony science.
Yeah, that's why I was talking about the flower of life. Nassim Haramein, who's a physicist, he used to live on Kauai. He
Yes.
actually,
He's a good Italian co-patriot. Followed
yes,
him for a long time. The
absolutely. He's
yeah,
fantastic.
Event Horizon, you know, and yeah, good stuff.
He actually is the one that's talked about how your protons have all of the holographically in the protons in your cells of your body, holographically have the mass of the entire universe in the cells of your body. This is why we can create miracles if we're focused and feeling and understand our
Yeah.
imagination.
And I love his earlier work where he graphs it out and shows that man is actually the event horizon, because we fall in this little place on the graph. And he has a great way of, you know, just depicting that. So yeah, fantastic. And a lot of wonderful people have all, you know, shown this and it really makes sense the more you get into it. But of course, the real sense comes when you do the work, when you get out of your head, you come from your heart, you know, you tune in a whole different way. And I think, you know, when I was doing the write-up for this episode yesterday, I was talking just about that very thing, you know, that there's a mass awakening. And the reason why we see all these mass acts of violence now is because the predator class is in desperation mode, and they have to outrun the mass awakening. It can't be done. They've already lost. But what we're trying to do is just mitigate the collateral damage in the process.
That is absolutely correct. That's why it's speeding up. That's why
Yep.
they're telling the parents that children can go and get their sex changed without a parental consent. It's a depopulation agenda reason, and yeah, but we are waking up. So
Yeah. And
Real
my
quick,
line in the sand was when I started getting an inordinate amount of patients coming in, parents bringing their vaccine damaged kids. And, you know, that's where I started connecting some dots a long time ago. So,
can I
you don't
ask real
want to
quick,
go ahead,
Bear,
Mike. Sorry.
speaking of children, what's the update on the missing children from the Lahaina fire?
zero, zero, zero. They're still saying only 3 children died.
Wow.
When people are saying, you know, what about the families and why aren't they speaking up? We've had, again, like I said, we had we've had suicides, a lot of suicides, not talking about that. We believe whole families have died. together, and zero information. I am going to do a FOIA request with the Hawaii Education Department and ask about those 2025 children. Have they gotten academic school records requested for them?
Yeah, many
Because
say, of course, it's a conspiracy theory. There's no evidence of it, but I heard in an interview you did that Paul Preston had reached out about those academic records, right? Was it Paul? And they had not been transferred at all. They're just sitting there in limbo, which is quite odd. And those students are not at school anymore, correct? Of those academic
that's
records.
what I want to confirm. He told me that he checked in with Hawaii Education Department the second week after the fire, and also the third week after the fire, and still no school had requested those academic records. So it's 2 years later. I want to request it now and see have any schools checked in about that.
I'm going to reach out to Paul. I haven't talked to him for a long time. I was communicating with Paul pretty regularly in the early days of the new California state. And he also brought in Scott Bennett, who was the Alameda representative for New California. I was the original Del Norte County representative in New California. And I just, other things brought me in other directions, but he would be a great person to bring on for us, Mike. And he was also communicating in the early days when the California fires became the new normal with Deborah Tavares. And an interesting thing happened in the Santa Rosa fire. They were supposed to have a meeting at her house when those fires broke out, and then they had to call it off. But then Deborah went back to her house later, and the entire neighborhood was devastated except for her house. And the only anomaly with her house is it was the only one in the neighborhood without a smart meter. So, who knows what's going on with that there.
Yeah, I want to show you guys. Let's see, I have it. I'm going to show you one more picture. This is smart meters from Maui and LA. This is Maui. The whole the container was fine, but the smart meter melted in LA. Smart meter. There's actually a whole video on a smart meter catching a house on fire. In August of 2014, more fires, more smart meters recalls. Utilities pull 105,000 meters in Canada, 70,000 in Oregon. And census says it's not at fault though. And so, yeah, smart meters definitely. What happens is a smart meter is like a mini computer and it pulses.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's something you do not want on your property. In fact, my sister, where she used to live, and sorry, it's stopping going for some reason on my end, but her landlord recently put a smart meter on the back of her bathroom, and all of a sudden she started sleeping over here at my place because she was like, I'm getting dizzy, I'm not feeling well, all kinds of stuff. So she ended up moving, and yeah, so it's something you don't want on your property.
Well, now it's just coming in through our Wi-Fi and cell phones, our modems. Yeah. So we tell everybody, turn your modem off at night. Yeah.
Best thing to do. And keep your phone away from your head. Don't let turn it, if you can, keep it away from your head, because that also is a frequency beam of some sort.
And it's all soft kill.
Yep.
I put my phone in a Faraday bag every night, which is more effective. But yeah, and then you can just easily get one of those little timers, power timers, and plug your router in and just set it so it turns on and turns off automatically. It's a $3 solution. That's the thing. There's a lot of like really simple solutions here, and it's just really knowledge, right? Is power. And then superseding that is, of course, just like you said, the love, right? The love, life force of coming from our hearts will resonate through the field too. Like that simple act of helping someone cross the street, or, like you said, paying for somebody who's struggling, like that is obviously not only those who witness it there physically has an effect, but it actually affects the field, the actual coherence of the field, which is what really, and this is all real science, they're trying to continually disrupt and make it incoherent, with all of these psyops and all of this chaos they're trying to create. So just simple acts of, kindness. I'd love that. Like volunteering, doing things in your community, just being like what Jesus, said. It's so simple, right? It's just like do unto others as you would like to be done unto yourself. It's just the golden rule. Just live it.
And another favorite quote from the Nazarene is, "See no man after the flesh," which means we are not these flesh bodies. We're powerful spiritual beings. And that's how we have to start viewing each other, which would make it very easy to be kind to each other. So maybe a good way to wrap things up. This has been an amazing conversation. And, if you're available, we'd love to definitely get you back, and talk about your new book and everything. But in the meantime, can you just tell our audience where they can find your work, websites, how to buy your book? And if you want to give us a little bit more of a tease about your new book, that's great too.
Yeah, let me show. I will show you the website here. Sorry. It's greatmauilandgrabbook.com, and let's see if I can get it here. There we go. greatmauilandgrabbook.com, and I had to put in book because greatmauilandgrab.com was actually taken. There's no website for it, but I thought that was interesting. Anyway, it's greatmauilandgrabbook.com. It has 21 LA Fire oddities. It was awarded finalist in the American Book Fest under True Crime. And that's the one contest I wanted to place in, was that one contest, and I placed, so third place. greatmauilandgrabbook.com. If you put Aloha in the coupon code, you'll get 10% off. And then my new book is, you can actually pre-order it. It's The Death of Freedom, How the American Dream Dies and How to Save It. And this goes over, you can actually order this at deathoffreedom.com. So deathoffreedom.com or greatmauilandgrabbook.com are both my books. And then my website is Blossom Inner Wellness, and I do inner shift programs where I'm actually doing one right now where I help people to understand how powerful your brain is. And we do go through the different ways of meditating and how to find balance in through the chaos. So that's Blossom Inner, INNER wellness.com. And you can follow me on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute at Blossom Inner Wellness. And that's my main business. But I just want to say thanks again for having me. Keeping the story alive. Light warriors need to stick together. So mahalo nui loa.
Thank you, Michelle. Wonderful work. And all of us that are doing similar work, we have to remember that the universe is at our back, and we've already won this. We just have to stick with it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And in the show notes, we have those links. I also added the book to our book list, alfavedic.com/book lists. You can grab it there. But yeah, the best way is just to go through her website and grab that. And it's just a no-brainer. Buy a couple and give them to your neighbors.
Yeah, I actually have if you buy more, you get more of a discount. And yeah, give them to people, because there's a lot of pictures. People are like, oh, I don't read anymore. Why look at the pictures? I'm like, there's a ton of pictures with over 200 sources, so people can read it out.
Great coffee table book. I tell you, that's a great way to help people wake up, is just subliminally. Like I used in college, even I always had, I was really into like David Icke and like reading Castaneda and these books back, 30 years ago. And I'd have it on my coffee table in my apartment, and people be like, what is this weird stuff? And it kind of gets the clockwork turning, because there's an act of just like fingering through the pages, seeing the images. It starts to sort of subliminally coming in, and like, they use all these techniques. We should as well. Yeah, if you can get them into like doctors' offices and stuff, if you have any like, more freedom-minded people that run public businesses too, guys, like get them in there. Because I think that's such an important thing, is that I think so many people out there just, out of fear or in just, they're busy. They just don't want to open up to this reality. But a book or a film or these types of media can really start to, podcasts can really start to crack open at least questioning, right? And then all of a sudden, 5 years later, I'm getting texted from a friend that thought I was crazy. That's like more of a crazy truther than I am now. So I've seen it all the time. So
Plants a
yeah.
seed.
Yeah. Well, good work, Michelle. We really appreciate you. Thanks for doing all that you do. Guys, go follow her, support her work, subscribe to her on YouTube, Rumble, buy her books, share them with your friends and family. And as always, remember to get outside, get your feet in the dirt, go plant something, go show Mother Nature some love. She'll show it back a million times. And we'll see you next Thursday, same bat channel, same bat time, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Love you all. Be fearless, courageous, and shine that love everywhere you go. Peace.